So we wanted to do this podcast, and I wanted to call this one, this is going to be the best title that we've had yet, which the Underpants Gnomes training.
Which might require some explanation.
Yeah, systems, Underpants Gnome training systems. So if any of you guys watch South Park has this Underpants Gnomes episode, and I always joke when we feel like we don't know what we're doing with business stuff that it's the Underpants Gnomes business model. So in the episode, the Underpants Gnomes collect underpants. They steal your underpants, and they're basically...
It's a three-step program.
Three-step program. Their goal is to collect underpants for profit. And
That's
so
step one.
Whenever they ask what their business plan is, basically like how are they going to get to step 3 profit, they don't know is the answer. So step 1 is collect underpants. Step 2 is I don't know, and step 3 is profit. So. So
you should watch that episode if you haven't seen it, but
yeah,
you have
so
the background.
We've been kind of in a super long circuitous story. We've enlisted some people to help us with our business stuff because we're kind of underpants gnomey when it comes to business. We're really, it's just not a strong suit of ours. We don't really love to focus on that. We like to focus on the training and helping people, but business is what helps that reach more people is what we're ultimately really realizing. So we need to hunker down. So we were working with this group called Propane. They're awesome. But they have this like trying to develop your communication and your niche for people. And we're realizing in doing that exercise, it really made me a little bit fired up about these training systems that are kind of to me like Underpants Gnomes training systems. Where I'm going with this, you guys are probably like, what in the hell is she talking about right now?
She's going to bring it all around.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to draw it all together. So the way that people train people and, you know, the training programs that people are buying, they really seem to be like the Underpants Gnomes business model for training because they're essentially this fitness challenge mentality, like hit it super hard and have, you know, a Chris Hemsworth and Thor body in 6 weeks from nothing, or train like you're going to enter the CrossFit Games next year or any day now. It's the fitness challenge mentality, basically, because it sells to people, because people want to buy that. They're like, yeah, I want to look amazing in this short time period, and everything is this short time period. And then even on a deeper level, like the research, when people do research studies on physical training, they're short studies. So everyone's always so hyped up on HIIT training, high intensity interval training, because the research looks great, you know, and it's done in these shorter chunks. And I'm not saying that HIIT's bad for you, but I'm saying that like if you train like this, like they train in a lot of these studies, or like people train when they're trying to sell you these little programs, or like athletes train when they're trying to get to the CrossFit Games or get on the bodybuilding stage or fitness stage or whatever it is, play a sport. Where are you going with that? Like, what is your plan? What's your business plan? What's the intent of the training program? Is the intent to compete? If so, great. But if the intent is to just be healthy and to feel good, what are we doing?
Even the hypertrophy studies, though, it's like, well, we had these people do 8 weeks of leg extensions to failure and they grew their quads a little bit. But then what? Can you do that forever? Do you just do leg extensions 8 weeks at a time for infinity and you just keep growing your quads? Does that work?
You deload, dude.
Oh, you got to deload.
You're just going to deload. That solves all your fucking problems, right?
Yeah. It's just that so much of these things are very like microscopic in what they want the outcome to be, and then there's no thought or like discussion on what do you do for the rest of your life, because we all know if you stop fucking training it goes away. So you have to have something that you keep doing, but you can't just do leg extensions forever and expect your quads to keep growing and feel awesome.
Your knees, like how are your knees going to respond to that? Like you might have good quads, but also like how much is the quad going to grow? You know, like how strong do you want your quad to get and why? And then do you need to train like you're in this research study for the rest of your life to have that quad? Like, no, you don't. But what you are going to have is a piece of shit knee. Excuse my French. But like, it makes me mad because it really is French. Short-sighted Underpants Gnomes training systems. Yeah.
Yes.
So
And that's the whole podcast.
So we're doing our whole niche, and I'm like, my whole, like, my mission in life at this point is to try to get people to understand that, like, you don't need to train like that. It isn't going to give you more muscle mass. At a certain point, you kind of top out, like Grayson has been training diligently, consistently forever, doesn't take drugs. Not that anything, whatever you want to do is your thing, but
you do you. Yeah,
no
judgment.
He's afraid of them because it's like, then you have to deal with like
no
estrogen and all that stuff.
No.
He doesn't even take aspirin. So, but
I don't even take creatine. How about that?
Yeah, but like, genetically there's a predisposition to get to a certain point, and then what is, like, how long do you want to maintain that? And maybe somebody does have that goal that they just want to push that forever, push that rock up that hill, but your body's there's a cost of that. So if our goal is to feel better, be healthier, maintain strength, like, we really have to ask, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing this? How much of this do we really need? And what we're experiencing with the people that we're training, and we're realizing we have trained thousands of people. Like, we were talking shit about someone who said that the other day, and we realized that we were
being judgy assholes.
We're like, we don't even say we've trained thousands of people. And I'm like, but we have trained thousands of people.
Well, we actually did the math to verify, so it's not just
It really is. Yeah, it's crazy. It's kind of like both of us were like, whoa.
It's amazing what happens over
20 years.
Yeah, ish.
So, anyways, what we're noticing, especially since we've transitioned to the internal strength model, which those guys really did say, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing so much volume? You put in a request for adaptation, and you basically just kind of back off a little bit rather than just like keep pushing the button. I need more. Yeah, maybe if you're doing a figure competition and you really can't mess around and you need that maximal hypertrophy, you might have to push it a little harder. I would still argue a lot of those people could probably get away with less push and still see the same results. Again, that's the minimal effective dose. I've said this before, if it's effective, it's effective. So you have to just kind of figure out what that is. Don't overdo it for the sake of your body being healthy later on. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, I think about it like the way that you coach nutrition clients, and that, like, you can get somebody to lose weight if they want to do some crazy strict weighing, measuring shit, and they lose weight over 8 weeks, but you're not really setting them up for, like, well, now how are you going to treat your dieting for the rest of your life? How are you going to eat in a nutritious way that's sustainable? So much training is pushed in that same mindset of like, we got this 10-week program for you to get your pull-ups. It's like, all right, well, you can get somebody to get pull-ups, maybe not 10 weeks, but whatever. You can have a really hard push for this one goal. I want to increase your deadlift by 20%. You can get people really strong over a short period of time. But what's never talked about is how do you maintain that? How do you keep them at a high level of strength and continually making some more progress? Maybe it's not as drastic as it was in that short time, but how do you keep them feeling good? Like, the recipe to do that is so much different than this push to just hit that thing and then keep going, like,
it's kind of like people are just piling up on top of themselves to climb up this great big pile of people where there's absolutely nothing at the top. It's like, where are you going?
Bring more people.
Keep going higher and harder, but where? Why? Like, what's there? Nothing. So back to what I was saying though about training all these thousands of people, like, but especially since we've started with the internal strength model, we're really, really realizing how much less you need to maintain and see progress. Like, I'm kind of experimenting right now. I haven't done a deadlift cycle in 5 years. Just different goals, right? For whatever I'm feeling. Decided to do a deadlift cycle so that I could try to get my strength back up there a little bit and then maintain it. Nothing crazy, but just at a slightly more up level than I have. And I have done over 34 days 3 deadlift workouts, and I really haven't been hitting that muscle group with a bunch of other stuff and accessories in the middle, so it's not really like muddied too much. Hardly really at all because of the other stuff that I'm doing. I'm just busy. But I went from not being able to pull a bar off the ground whatsoever at 185. I know that's not super impressive, but that's where I started from. And did like 165 for 5. 3 weeks later, did 175 for 5. And then 2 weeks after that was able to do that 185 that I couldn't pull 34 days prior for 5 reps. So strength progress being made at what is technically what they're saying
Not even
only
enough
enough
for
to
maintenance?
maintain or barely. And other studies say that that's not even close to enough to maintain. So that's kind of disproving that. And granted, I have strength training experience. My nervous system remembers things that a newer person's didn't, but they're also showing this on trained individuals. So I want to sign us up for one of these studies. But we're just seeing, what we're seeing is that people don't need that much to drive progress. Maybe strength and hypertrophy are a little bit different. Maybe strength is easier to push forward with less frequency.
Well, but another commonality that we're using in our own training and training other clients is that we're not using the lifts alone as the thing to progress the lifts, right? Like there's other training that's happening on parts that we now definitely feel and have seen that they're more important. Like you're going to top out your deadlift much sooner on a shitty hip joint than you are on a hip joint that's super healthy and does lots of stuff, has really good range of motion, lots of control and ability to develop and absorb force and range. Like that's a hip that will go higher. The ceiling is much higher on that one. And if your training is focused on developing those qualities with regular consistency, the way that you would do any other classical training program, you need way less stimulus. Now, what she said, like, you know, for trained individuals, like she and I, as far as training goes, are different. Like I'm a little bit obsessive. I've been training consistently. I did the math the other day, 26 years. I've been really regularly training. And so I've had lots of plateaus. I've had all these things come up, injuries and whatever. Over the past few months, though, I've been less consistent. Like more stuff has come up. I have, you know, jiu-jitsu is more taxing. I've hit my training days less consistently. Like I'm not getting my 3 dedicated strength training days every week. They're spread out. Sometimes I have 3 days in between. And in my mind, I'm going, oh, I'm fucking up. I'm not staying consistent. I'm not going to see progress. But all those extra days between my sessions only have equated to more training PRs that I've seen and still feeling good. So it's like, for me, even more time between my training has been better. And, you know, I think part of that is like the more trained you are, the further you can push that intensity. Like you need less because you can get more, squeeze more intensity into those sessions that you're getting. And then you just need to recover. Like you're sending the signal, you made it really hard. Okay, cool. Let biology do its thing and then hit another dose of that. So I've been trying to be a little more relaxed about taking those extra days off because I've seen progress doing that, but
You need therapy.
probably we all do.
I need to exercise less. Just like nobody ever goes in for that. Fortunately, though, you have found a system that like gives you all kinds of little different things to train, so you can still train all the time, but be hitting all of these little different pieces. Just to be clear, though, I am not doing any like trying to push forward any progress on capsule rotation or any other layer of tissue that would be incorporated into a deadlift that would contribute. So it really is like that stuff is mostly just on maintenance at all because I'm trying to push the deadlift. So that's another thing too. Like you can only push so many things, and I'm trying specifically not to over fatigue anything so that I don't have any interference or assistance, so that it is purely like this is happening from a deadlift, a very weak, but not potent, but delayed cycle.
Yeah. I mean, so we're talking about mistakes on this podcast, about historical mistakes that we've made training other people for all the years that we were training people in a totally different way. Maybe this will be a good segue into that. Like, nobody's training problems are related to them needing to lift more weights, right? Like, everybody, like, again, those classic approaches of training programs are like, if you just deadlift, you're just going to solve your back pain. But like what we've seen, of course, is like nobody needs that. But that's how we used to train a lot. You know, it's like, oh, this person's got shoulder pain. Well, we just got to keep getting them working on these pull-ups with bands and other variations of pull-ups, and it's going to fix their shoulder pain. It's not. And
well,
that's
I mean,
like,
sometimes that's the right exercise. And I think that that's where it gets confusing for people, is that they have seen those exercises work for a subset or a group of people. And so because some people have had success, they want to jump in and say, well, maybe this will work for me. but it's kind of this funny thing. Like I like to use the alternator analogy, like where you probably have heard me harp on this before, but it's like when your car's messed up, if you take it into the shop and you're like, well, I heard that if I just get an alternator, it's going to fix my car. Without looking at your car, without actually really diagnosing what's going on with your car, what you actually need to replace. Maybe if you replace the alternator, that'll be it. And that's the same thing as like applying a system of exercises to your body and hoping that this is the right system. Like I finally found the right system, which is what's different about the internal strength model, is that it isn't a system of exercises, it's a thought process behind how you understand how to assess your body and then how to train your deficits so that it does fix things.
And you're putting the intensity into what you need. So you're replacing your alternator if your alternator is shot.
If you so find that in the assessment, that your alternator is bad.
Yeah, but you're not doing a brake job when you need an alternator, and
right.
You're putting your efforts into that whatever broken thing.
Yeah.
And we all have broken things.
I think the biggest training mistakes we made were like making your mom snatch and stuff like that.
Yeah. So sorry, Mom. It turns out you don't need to have a 60-plus-year-old do snatches who doesn't give a shit about snatches. That's not
who
necessary.
also has horrible shoulders and like
Bad elbows.
crooked elbows. I mean, his poor mom, and she weighs like 100 pounds soaking wet. She's so cute. Yeah, I mean, CrossFit in general basically was just rife with training mistakes. Like,
well, it's just that thing. You're bringing all these people in and you're saying like, you all need alternators. So we're all going to fix your alternators, and everybody's doing the same thing. And some people are like, damn, I feel awesome. I'm super fit. And other people are like, my back is killing me every time I do this. And so those people are just like, well, you just do it lighter and then we'll all keep doing the same shit.
It's just a gauntlet. Like there's so many different exercises that CrossFit incorporates that are all done under the demand of fatigue. That's like, wow, that's a lot, it's a lot. The community's great. And in theory, a lot of it's good, but you have to like, if you really want to do CrossFit, you got to be careful and you got to get yourself there. So.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just, CrossFit produces really impressive athletes for sure, but like, they're not just doing CrossFit. Like the ones who want to keep doing it and be competitive for a long time, they're finding lots of other things that they need to do for training outside of that, which that's just how training has to go if you want to do it on the long-term scale.
I took notes, but
do it. I'll hold that for you. We got to keep ourselves on track here.
Oh yeah, or the one diet to rule them all dogma. Yeah, I used to feel like there was like one way to eat, and that was like the right way, and that was back when I was super paleo. We were both super paleo. I met Grayson, and he was paleo, and I was like, "It's so hot, you're paleo."
Sucked her in.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we'd have pizza and have a stomach ache.
Yep.
Fragile.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a misconception, though, that, like, I hear about FRC, because all these things, like, you name a system that you follow for training or that you like to use, and then it's like, oh, yours is better than mine, and, like, this is the only one that is, like, it's looking at the individual and just saying, like, what is this person capable of now? What do they want to do? That dictates what they need for training, and that's always a little bit different, and so it isn't like one system to rule them all, but I would say there is one thought process to rule your training. That makes the most sense, is really having that thought process that lets you individualize stuff and figure out what people need, because it's all different.
Yeah. Well, I think it's basically just the overall understanding that nothing is necessarily right or wrong per se. Like there's not right or wrong movements. There aren't things that you should or shouldn't be doing. There are just effects. There are consequences. There are benefits. There are negatives. And it really also so much depends on the individual. Like, is yoga good for you? Depends on the person. Some people it's great. Do you want to do yoga? Do you love yoga? Cool. There may be some things that your body needs to fix so that yoga feels good on you. It might feel horrible on certain people, so there's just this whole maybe it depends, which people hate. They just want, tell me the one thing that's really simple, that only takes 5 minutes a day, that works in 6 weeks, that I don't have to think about, that I don't have to try hard to do.
Yeah, or like
Has no nuance.
give me a program that I can do forever and not have to ever change it, which again doesn't exist. Like the longer you train, the longer you do the same stuff, the bigger the requirement is on you to figure out what's going on now and what needs to change. Like all of our training is dramatically different, even though I might have a lot of the same goals that I did 20 years ago. The way that I do that now is I've been forced to make it different because all that shit that worked for a while stopped working at some point, which, you know, like we do have a program to sell. We want to sell you a program, and we're trying to sell you one that you can do forever because it has that thought process behind it where things are changing. We're evolving and making sure that it's accounting for all of your current imbalances or whatever you want to call it, deficiencies, based on what you need to do those things that you want to do. And that should change throughout your whole life because your body's changing all the time.
Yeah, it has an assessment and lots of plug and play option features because everybody's different and everybody needs different stuff at different times. So anybody that just wants to do the same 5 exercises day in and day out for the, you know, the duration of a cycle or the rest of their life, it's like, it's not going to hit all the stuff. You know, your body is complex. Your body has lots of bits and pieces. And, you know, as you age too, when you start to get into that, use it or lose it, and lose it real quick and dramatically, that's really where the weird training comes in, where you have to start training your neck muscles. You have to start training strange things with your grip, you know, and your knees and feet, because that stuff just goes away. It's weird, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, you have these big quads and calves and biceps and pecs, but like
elbow tendonitis to go along with it.
all of your other joints are
yeah,
shitty. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I think, you know, we've talked about this too, like the maintenance component. Like your cells are changing and they're changing based on how you're using them, and that use is based on load. And so it takes a lot of thought process going into just like accounting for all those things that need some kind of stimulus and regular maintenance and all of that stuff. And if the focus is always on just gain more of this, like you're for sure losing more than you think you are because you're so focused on gaining those things. So like you just have to be strategic about what you're maintaining, what you're gaining, you know, paying attention to those. I've been deadlifting the same way for 15 years. You probably don't need to deadlift like that for a while. You could do something totally different, you know?
Yeah, and it'll be amazing how hard and awkward it feels to deadlift in a slightly different way because your body gets so used to that.
It's not efficient
track.
In that. Yeah, totally. It's also, I think it's also, you know, it's just, we also have this perspective because we've been doing it for a long time, you know, trying to convince somebody who hasn't gone through that like cycle of just training really hard, seeing progress, continuing to do the same thing, and then having it go down the other way, which most young people who've been training haven't hit that point yet. But if you stick the course long enough, I think across the board, everybody has that. Like I haven't worked with anybody who's our age now, which in our 40s, who's been training for a long time, who hasn't had that happen probably multiple times. So if you're in that category, you probably know what we're talking about. If you're like 20 and you've been training for a few years and things are awesome, I'm jealous because I remember those magical times, but it doesn't stay that way. So you want to, I think it's better to account for that and plan for it instead of just hitting that wall and being like, I hate my training now, my body hurts.
Well, there's just it's such a balance. Like, you know, we all kind of bought into the thing when we started training when we were younger that just exercise is good for you, fluffy clouds, unicorns, yada, yada. So just exercise. And then, you know, CrossFit mentality, which is like, there's no bell curve. It just goes like this. The fitter you are, the healthier you are, you know, and there's no repercussions of that fitness. But like in one of the more recent Control Yourself episodes where they're talking about longevity and performance, it's like there is arthritis rates are on the rise, and it's probably because all of us have been exercising really regularly for a long time, but we're all exercising like athletes, you know, and we're not athletes, like we're not competing. Back to the Underpants Gnomes training systems thing. It's like, what's the intent? Like, where are you going with this?
Nor were our bodies evolved for competing, right? Like high performance from our bodies is not the best thing for our bodies in any way. It's cool. It's fun.
It's good in the moment. You know, it's short term. Lots of times like short term things that have amazing benefit now where it's like, oh, I look amazing. You know, you're getting all the ladies want to go with that caveman, you know, because he's lifting the biggest stones. But like his shoulders are probably not going to last as long as somebody else's.
Yeah.
There's just trade-offs, and so there's just that thing to consider. Like if you really stop and think about your training program, like if you're just trying to look good, like have good muscle mass and be strong, you can probably be doing so much less to maintain that and to maybe go through periodic moments of pushing something a little bit higher when it needs to go back up or you want more out of it. And then more time in taking care of the things that are falling apart, which there are usually a few of those here and there. But there's also just so many little things to be doing that are good for your body that give back that tissue that's going away or address deficits or things like that, and it doesn't have the same appeal. It's not sexy. It's not as fun to post on Instagram. It doesn't give you that, like, I just beat myself up, adrenaline rush, but again, what's the intent? What's your number
reality.
two?
It's always the discrepancy between what we see on the internet and what reality is. And this is reality.
Yeah. It's boring old sales.
Yeah.
Not sales. Sales is the other one, the challenging, exciting stuff. Oh, that's it. Any more big mistakes? I feel like we both have to
We gotta
get on to the next
folks.
sessions.
No, but I mean, I think that's, obviously before we did this FRC training stuff, we did different things. We had a stint of Olympic weightlifting and all those things, but really, even though the training was, Greg Everett.
This
Classic.
thing is like, I was doing the math. I got this in 2013.
Nice.
At
That's
Catalyst.
a sweet sweatshirt.
Yeah.
That's not the one that says place bar here on the back, is it? No.
No, the T-shirts of this era did though.
Yeah. But they all had that same commonality of like, we're pushing 1 rep maxes and lots of volume. Reps and sets are the only thing we're measuring, and then just really forgetting like
Olympic weightlifting is a sport, in all fairness.
oh, totally, and it's amazing, and I love it, and I have huge respect for anybody who wants to participate in it. But it's not all your body needs. It's just that's the thing. Like so much training out there is pushed as this is all you need to do, and just do this forever, and everything's going to be fine. And this is not the fucking case for anything. It doesn't matter what kind of training you're talking about. If you're not accounting for your joints and your connective tissue and maintaining those and getting more where you don't have it based on what you need it for, there's no longevity in it. And so like that's what we're really trying to push is this is a way to train for longevity. Yes, longevity also doesn't last forever because your body's going to fall apart at some point and you're all going to die. And
I think my other thing that mistakes was exercise form, and that I think is the next thing. So I want to push this, like these two things down the road in my life. One, that like we need to really revise the way we view training so that people stay healthy and that you can, I mean, we don't look too bad, right? Like we're not training like psychos at all, nor do we eat like psychos. We just are balanced about it and understand it's not that hard to maintain muscle mass. It's not that hard to go, I'm going to drop back in and try to bump my deadlift up to 250 and then ease off or something like that, But the form is the next thing, exercise form. That form will save you. And, people have this like hardcore, deep urge to make their clients do things in proper form. And the reasoning behind that we were always taught was that this is safe. Like if you do a squat this way, and I've taught it before, like I've recorded somewhere on video. But that's not true because you take 10 different people and you make them all perform a perfect squat and you load them all and you progress them all through the same program and you're going to have 10 different results.
Totally. I mean, really, it's funny to think about now. Like, your brain does not know the fucking difference between a squat with a perfectly neutral low back or a lumbar spine that flexes in the bottom of a squat. Doesn't make any difference. Your brain is like, there's this squat and there's this squat. And some people can butt wink till the cows come home with 400 pounds on their back. It doesn't matter. And then other people do a bodyweight squat and let their lumbar spine flex and their back goes out. So it doesn't matter. It just depends on the individual. If you have no spine flexion and you have shitty hips, letting your butt wink in the bottom of a squat's probably going to be more problematic.
Yeah. I mean, and there's definitely some possible joint alignment issues that down the road. But again, like if you've got somebody that has no knee internal rotation and you have them squat, but they're trying to torque their knees all the way to the, turn them in like this and squat with your knees out, their knees aren't going to appreciate that. Somebody else, it might prevent valgus knee that they've got, et cetera.
And valgus
It
doesn't even matter.
depends. How
It's
deep
fine.
the squat is good for some and not for others. So yeah, we don't look at form anymore. We look more so at like who's doing it and how to fix their body and how to load
Yes.
leg pressing that's
Is
appropriate.
this person's knee prepared to go valgus and be loaded like that? Yes or no? Is their lumbar spine prepared to round in the bottom of a squat? Yes or no? That should really guide your training decisions. And if yes, you want them to squat and they need to butt wink because they're trying to do a deep ass squat that's really heavy, well then train their lumbar spine to be better at rounding. Train their hips to have more rotation. So those are all within their capacities. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's different for every single person.
Okay.
All right.
Underpants Gnomes training systems coming to you soon.
Yep. Step 3, profit.